So we need to talk about millions and millions of Americans being forced into the US military. Because right now, roughly 45 million people are between the ages of 18 and 26, meaning they could potentially be forced into selective service. Now, I want to break down what's going on here, why millions of people are extremely upset, but I actually had a couple phone calls, a handful of emails. People are furious because their kids are now being forced to go fight in other countries and do all this crazy stuff. Well, I'm going to break down what's really going on, how millions of people are about to be impacted, and what we are likely to see over the next few weeks. So I'll break all this down in just a moment. But again, all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So first off, what exactly are we talking about? How could millions of people be forced into the US military? Well, it's because of a recent bill that was passed by the House of Representatives. It's this one right here. It says, House passes defense bill automatically registering men 18 to 26 for the draft. Now, what you need to understand is that selective service here in the United States currently is if you are between the ages of 18 and 24 and you are a male US citizen, you have to register. It's mandatory, or else it's a felony and you could go to jail for potentially 5 years. Now, do you see this often? No. Have we had a draft recently? No. But here's what you need to keep in mind. The draft bill was passed likely because we are seeing some more tensions across the world. There's a heightened risk that, yes, we could go to war. And one of the things I've addressed over the past year is we are seeing all of our recruitment numbers for the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Army, the Air Force, and so much more. Well, all the numbers are down. Even our recruitment for police officers is down. For the FBI, down. Everything is lower than what it's been over the previous years. And obviously, that's concerning, especially when countries like Russia and China and Iran are growing a larger base. And so now we are potentially at risk. But here's what a lot of people were asking me just the other day. Does this bill that was just passed by the House last week, which it happened on like a late Friday afternoon, does this mean that we are reinstating the draft and so that any day now millions of people could be called into action? Well, the answer is no. We're not reinstating the draft. President Biden is not going to do that right now. But could he do that? Yes. Here's the only reason why a president would actually reinstate the draft. It's simple. If we needed to fill vacancies in some of the military positions that we would not be able to fill through our normal initial recruitment process, that was the only reason why we would go and draft anybody for selective service. Okay? But I want to show you this. Look at this. It says no. Selective Service Registration Bill doesn't reinstitute draft. It says fact check. Well, I want to read you some things. Okay? And I want to start with this right here. Look at this. It says while there isn't currently a draft in place, Congress and the President can reinstate the draft and force male citizens to serve in the military in the event of a national emergency or war that all volunteer military can't adequately support. So, what you need to know about the military draft, well, let's get to that. Because again, like I said, if all volunteer military cannot adequately support our needs, that is the only reason why we would actually have a draft. But again, we're not there, we're far from it. Okay? Now, who needs to register? Well, this is what the current law is. I want to read this to you so you understand where the changes are going to be. It says who needs to register? Almost all men who are 18 to 25 years old and live in the U.S. must register for selective service. This includes U.S. citizens who live outside the country, immigrants, this is legal permanent residents and undocumented immigrants, refugees and asylum seekers, transgender people who were assigned male gender at birth, and people with disabilities. It says if you are a military veteran or a military reservist, you are still required to register with selective service. It says several groups are exempt from registering, such as those currently on active duty, some disabled persons, and those who are incarcerated. Now, again, what you need to keep in mind, and this is a big one because I had a mom, she was a mom of 3, and she wrote an email today saying how she is worried because 2 of her daughters are, one is 17, the other one's 18 years old. The other one I think is like 13 or something. But so 17 and 18, and she's worried because I said that this is going to open up the doors for women to be required to register for selective service. And the reason why I say this is because one of the things we've seen over the past, handful of years is women want the same rights as men. And I'm absolutely for that. You should be paid the same. You should be treated the same, right? There should be no, really no gender roles. But this is kind of one of those things that why are we only selecting men? Well, the reason why we're only selecting men, based off of what, history has told us, is because men can't have children. They cannot bear children. So because of that, women were left out of this so that we do not see our numbers, here in the United States, all the people that come in and are born here. If these numbers drop, well, we're screwed. So because of that, that's why women were left out of the draft. Well, because other things as well, but that was years ago. Times have changed. But that's what you need to keep in mind. Now, I want to show you this. It says, are women eligible to register for the draft? It says, the law currently requires that only men register for selective service. In the event that law is changed to include registering women, selective service is prepared to expand registration according to the website. That's what they're saying. Well, interesting. So they're already looking at that. And somebody brought this up today that there's no way they're going to include women, right? There's no way. There's enough men, and there are. But there's also enough men and women. So keep that in mind. That yes, there is enough men to potentially fill the void that could be left in this gap between the volunteer servicemen and women. But at the same time, we have to treat men and women the same, right? Now, I want to read you one last thing, and then let's talk about it. It says, what if you don't register? It says, according to law, it is considered a federal felony punishable by a fine of up to $250,000 or a prison term of up to 5 years or a combination of both if you fail to register with selective service. A felony conviction means you lose your right to vote and the right to own, possess, and use a firearm, among other things. Now, let's discuss this. Is this something that we should be worried about? This new draft bill? The answer is yes and no. The one reason why we should be concerned about it is, why are we being asked this? Why is this being passed today? Why are we even talking about it? This has been in discussion for the past handful of months, but why did this pass just this past week? Well, because tensions are high, because our recruitment numbers are low, and we need to be prepared in the event that we have to go to war. Right now, we would not be the powerhouse. We just wouldn't. We would because of some of our military equipment, but not because of the personnel that we have. It's because of all the advanced equipment that we do have, that we do offer, and our allies. That's the only reason why we would actually be a threat or be feared. Not because we have just so many more people that are fighting for the United States. So, are people being forced into the military? The answer is no. You're not being forced into it because there's still no draft. But this draft bill that was just passed, well, many experts say this is highly concerning. So I don't know which direction to go. I don't know which side to really take because, again, I don't think this is going to pass through the Senate because there's too many poison pills in this bill. But could they rework this and eventually pass it again in the House and send it over the Senate and get President Biden's signature? Absolutely. But once that happens, that's where it'd be really concerning is, what does Congress see? What does the president know that the rest of the United States does not? So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.